you have an eating disorder if you weigh out and track your food, and it's a real slippery slope you're going down, is what some stupid people will say. Unfortunately, I'm not here to back that up. Tracking your calories is actually the best way for you to see real progress in the gym, and it's actually easier mentally. Once I had actually started tracking my calories, that's when I was able to actually transform my physique from looking kind of chubby, and this was years working in the gym as well, probably 6.5 years of being in the gym pretty consistently, five days a week in the gym. I was doing some runs, and this is what I had to show for it, because I wasn't tracking my calories. I couldn't analyze the data that I was putting into my body, and it was what actually transformed me from what I used to look like to now. And without tracking my calories, I would not have seen that results. No matter how much extra effort I had put into the gym, it wouldn't have changed anything. Once I had actually started tracking my calories, I knew what exactly was going into my body, what I needed to continue to adjust to see progress moving forward. So this is the main thing, and that's why so many people see so little results in the gym long term, is because even if they do put in the hard work of going to the gym 3, 4, 5 times a week, and they're eating relatively healthy, you know, they're having high protein meals, they're, you know, not having too many snacks and chocolate and whatever that might be, you know, they still don't see that real results. They don't have the physique that says, I go to the gym. And there's a reason for that. It's because they're not actually tracking and analyzing the data that's going into their body. It's exactly like a financial budget, and which leads into why it's actually easier mentally to be tracking your calories than without. If you're in a saving mode, you know, you're saving up for a house, for a car, whatever it is, if you're in that mindset of, I'm trying to save, I'm trying to spend as little money as possible, when you go out and, you know, you go buy a coffee with your mates, whatever it is, you know, I bet you're thinking a little bit about that coffee. Oh, it's $4.50, or this coffee's $5. I don't know if I should be buying that. And even over that small purchase of a coffee, you're going to have a little bit of mental anguish thinking about, you know, spending that money. But if you have a budget, a financial budget of knowing exactly what amount you have to spend for the day, what's your allowance, and you know that if you stick to that, you're still on your savings goal. I bet if you tell yourself, you know, I have $40 to spend for the day on food, activities, friends, movies, whatever it is, if you spend that $40, I bet you're gonna sleep like a baby later that night, because you stuck to your goals, you stuck to the boundaries that you set for yourself, the limitations, and I bet you're not really thinking about the money throughout the day. See, this is the difference that people don't quite click and understand, is that when you're tracking your calories, they think that it's too over the top, it's too, you know, too analytical, too much of an eating disorder to be tracking out your food. But I say the opposite. I think it's actually easier mentally from a main point of view, is because now that I track my calories, I know exactly what my budget is, I know exactly what I can have for the day, and you know, that's what helps me see the real progress moving forward. Because when I want to have a cheat snack, for example, I want to have some chips or a cookie, I want to throw that into my allowance every now and then it's exactly like a budget. If you want to go out and have a nice lunch for that day, then you know you're going to have to sacrifice on something else later that day. Maybe you're going to go for a movie after or something. You know, you're going to have to pull that back in order to allow for that, you know, kind of expensive lunch. And you know, this is a small sacrifice you make throughout that day, but you know that if you stick to it, you stick to that allowance, you know you have room to move, to allow for life activities, and as things pop up, it's going to be a lot easier emotionally throughout the day, throughout the weeks, and that's what's going to allow you to stick to your calories, or in this example, your budget and savings goal. So this is the real key difference that people don't quite understand, and it's a real coping mechanism of why people label it as too over the top, or it's an eating disorder, whatever it is. It's because they're too lazy to take that first step. It is hard in the beginning to get started, but that's what has actually gotten me the real results. So not only is it easier emotionally, and to be honest, it doesn't take a lot of time to track your food. You know, in the beginning, once you get used to weighing out your food, understanding how to weigh out, you know, food that comes in jars, or do you weigh your food raw versus cooked, and all those kinds of questions you might have, once you get over that, you know exactly what you need to do. Tracking your food, it takes maybe 2 minutes of my entire day to put that analysis in. But once I have that, I know exactly what's going into my body, what exactly I need to adjust for the next day. And so that's what actually has gotten me these actual real results. Without it, I would not have made any progress in the gym. I would have looked the exact same. I would have wasted a lot of time in the gym, going to the gym still 5 days a week, 6 days a week sometimes, and still being pretty active, but I look like shit. And that's because I didn't know what I was doing. So make that change, because it's easier emotionally, and not only that, it's easier from a data analytics point of view. Once you turn it into a maths problem, calories is nothing more than a mathematical problem. If you're trying to cut weight and you set an amount for yourself to have X amount per day, and you realize the body weight isn't changing, the body composition isn't changing, then you know you have to change that input that you're putting in. It's no more complicated than a math problem. But if you're just thinking out loud to yourself, oh, I need to eat healthier, or I need to eat more high protein, those kinds of general thoughts, a holistic point of view, it can work for some people. And if you're an advanced lifter and you've been, really tracking for a while, you know what you're doing, then you can have that approach. But when you're just getting started, and to be honest, long term, I'm going to be doing this as well, because I enjoy this way of life, you know exactly what you have to change. If you're just constantly thinking about eating healthier, it goes exact same to that original point I was saying about it's constantly on your mind. I'm not constantly thinking about eating healthy or eating high protein, because once I see those numbers hit on the screen of what I've tracked and what I've eaten, I know I've ticked that goal. I don't need to think about it anymore. I don't need to think about what I'm eating later in the day. I know what I'm going to be eating. And for those off days where I feel like having a bit of a cheat and relaxing a little bit in terms of, maybe I don't hit my protein goals today, but I hit my calories kind of thing, and I want to relax in that sense every now and then I have the room to do that. And I'm going to have so much more of a relaxed mind than you, who is just constantly thinking about eating low calorie, or watching what you eat, trying to eat high protein. You can't go out to the pub with your friends. These kinds of things is a no-go for me. I don't advise anyone to be skipping out on meals with friends or going out for a coffee, whatever it is, because you can work that into your budget. And so this is the key thing that you really need to get over. Stop seeing tracking calories as some kind of eating disorder or too over the top. It's actually the best move that you can do for your progress, not only from a body composition point of view, if you're trying to gain weight and go into like a lean bulk stage, or you're in a cutting phase and you've got either heaps of fat to cut, or you just want to get rid of a little bit of that excess fat around your stomach and arms and that kind of thing, then this is the key move that's actually going to see you those results. And it's through that process, when you're actually seeing the progress and actually doing the work, you're going to be so much more relaxed mentally, and you're going to have so much more mental capacity for other things in your life than just thinking about food and eating healthy and being, on this grind mindset. I don't think about it at all, and I've made some serious progress while lapsing. I've had plenty of off days, plenty of days of eating like shit, and that's because I was still analyzing the data day in, day out, and I understand that at the end of the day, in order to make 10 steps forward, you have to make a step back. That's just the way life goes. We're all human. We're not going to make a continuous progressive journey in anything that we do, whether that's fitness, our career, our relationships, whatever it is. There's always a step back. If you understand that's part of the journey, that you're not always going to be perfect, then that's what's going to see you those results, is that you have to understand that needs to be allowed into your routine and into your plan that you create for yourself. If you need any help with this, feel free to reach out to me, because this is what I help people with. This is what's helped me see the real progress in myself, and I feel like a completely different person, the way I look, the way I carry myself, because I have gotten these results. And a bit embarrassingly, I realized at the end of the day, it was so much easier than I thought it was, because I just didn't have that knowledge in my head of what to do. So make this change. Stop seeing tracking calories as some kind of chore. Start getting it done, and you're going to see that real progress in the gym. All right, I'll catch you in the next one.